Hi guys, Zach with Procrastination Station. Here today, this is part 2 of the PP19. What we're going to be doing today is just reassembling everything, kind of the important parts all the way back up to our body assembly. So with that being said, this is our version 3 gearbox. It is placed back together. Like I said in a previous video, I had to rewire this system. So that is what I did and what I took down. So here we are. We have our new wiring. What I like to do with any version 3 gearbox, because we have a motor assembly and everything's contained, I like to test fire the replica before I place it back into the body. As we know, getting everything back together and then it not work is disappointing. So with that being said, we're going to test fire. If I can get the... Okay, perfect. Set our battery aside. We now know the replica works. Awesome. Now, with version 3 gearbox, what we're going to do, you have two sides. We're going to call this the right-hand side and this the left-hand side. So we're going to start on our left-hand side. We have our assembly or our selector assembly here. There's going to be a hole in the back of your gearbox. What we're going to do is line up our selector. As you can see, there's 1, 2, 3, and 4 teeth. On your assembly here, you're going to have the big section, 1, 2, 3, and then another bigger section. What we're going to do is set this in our hole and align it so that there's a big section, a black tooth, our metal white tooth, black tooth, metal, black tooth, metal, black tooth, and then the bigger portion on the back. Basically, you're going to want your bigger section and then one tooth to start on your selector. Holding with one finger, we're going to flip it over, making sure we don't lose alignment. You now have this piece. This is the other half, and it is a cutout. It only goes in one way unless you flip it all the way around. But it's going to basically go to 45. You'll feel it slide in. Then you're going to have a Phillips that we place inside and just tighten it down. Once you feel it tighten, what I like to do is let go a little bit on my backhand. It's not going to fall out and you're not going to lose alignment. It'll sit against this little knob portion on our gearbox, and then we can actually crank it a little bit tighter. Obviously, don't crank it. You don't want anything to strip. And then you should be tight enough that when you move, you have your selector movement. Next, if you still have forgotten, place your, this is basically a dust cover for your sector gear. All we have to do is slide it up behind our trigger and clip it into place. Now it won't come out. Last but not least, before we place this into our body, you're going to have, in my case, I only have one. I don't know if the original PP19, if you have the Perrin Mosfet version, if it comes with the safety. Basically, there's two pieces. There's this piece with this cutout, and then there's a notch, and then your trigger cutout. Basically, the safety sits here with a knob inside, so when you pull your trigger, it can't do anything with the safety. In this case, I don't have that. You have your selector hole. What we're going to do is our first tooth on the top portion of this, you're going to have a big section, the only big section on your selector, and then a small tooth. What you're going to do is the first tooth is not the big section. You want that second tooth to line up on there, and then just adjust accordingly so that it fits right over your selector here. Holding in place, clamshelling with your hand, we're going to pinch and hold. Taking our body, if I can get it, we're going to have our stock open. It's a little bit easier. Like I said, just clamshell your selector with your thumb. We're going to slide in, making sure not to pinch any wires. And our trigger to come through. And then we can just push down. Again, making sure that nothing is pinched. Your wires should fit through. There's a hole on your left-hand side that your wires will fit through. Now that we're here, your gearbox can have a little bit of play, and that's all right. The first thing that we're going to start with is we're going to put our stock clip back in. This is the hardest portion just because of how floppy everything gets. There's a hole in your gearbox. That hole aligns with your stock, and we can slide it in. Holding with our index finger, we can flip over. What I recommend to do at this point is take something to hold, just so we can't accidentally flip that out. Now remember to have our 0.05 millimeter Allen key. You're going to have basically the button with a spring on the bottom and a hole. And then another small spring. This black small spring slides over that post. And then our silver spring sits. There's a small little tab that sits out of the body. That's where that silver spring goes. And then on this hole, that's where our post goes. So I'm just going to slide in the best we possibly can here on camera. Again, with our gearbox positioning, there we go. Now I'm going to clamshell with my finger, pushing down a little bit, squeezing my fingers so the knob aligns. I'm going to take my 0.05 millimeter Allen, and there's a grub screw on the hole on the front portion. I'm going to just tighten that down. Now this is extremely important. Don't over tighten this. You will slice the top of the post off and you'll have to buy a new one. So that's perfect. I don't feel like it's going to go anywhere. I'm just going to snug that down. And now we have stock retention, and there is some wobble. Unfortunately, that's the nature of this. I don't believe it is the clip. I believe it is on the back and forth motion here. From what I've been told, some people will take a piece of heat shrink and place it over this, and sometimes that works. Anyway, that's the hardest portion done. Now what I'm going to do before I place my motor grip back on, or pistol grip, for body alignment, I always place in my selector. The selector has a top knob portion that aligns with the top portion of your selector. There's also a brass retainer or washer. Make sure that that's inserted, and then just wiggle and you'll feel it clip. Perfect. Now we're going to take our screw. It's the fattest one in the body portion. So you have a fat, and then it's unthreaded and a little bit threaded. Place that in, and I believe it's a 2.5 millimeter. It is not. It is 3 millimeter. Holding down our selector, we're just going to slowly torque this down. And tightening the best we possibly can. Don't over tighten, just enough, and you should be able to clip your selector in. You also, if you're unsure if it's working, you can see in the bottom here that in safe, or farthest position down, you can see a little bit of that metal. Now, I'm going to take our motor grip, and because I just rewired this, I might have to finesse these wires just a hair. And that is A-okay. If you have the stock wiring, this will be a lot easier. Again, I have fresh wiring in here that I have to finagle a little bit. There we go. Okay. Now, in the bottom of our motor grip, there's a flat 2.5 millimeter Allen key screw that we're going to place in the bottom here, and it is the middle one. And torque down. Okay. Now we can place our protective cap back on, and then there's another 2.5 millimeter Allen key screw. This one's a little bit easier. And again, just hand tight, don't over tighten these. Perfect. And that's the majority of this done. Now, we're going to take the front portion of our replica, set that aside right now because we're going to take our inner barrel and pop up and go downward inside the body and just wiggle it a little bit and set that inside. Now there is a retainer and it slides back and forth. So what you'll need to do is just take a little screwdriver or a pick and just pull it backwards so your holes for your Hopup line up. Now we're going to take our Phillips and screw those in. Again, these go into metal nuts that are embedded in the Hopup, but just make sure not to over torque. And again, these are Phillips. And push back on your hop up just a little bit. Now we're going to take our front and outer barrel assembly and slowly wiggle. And that has some spring tension on it. Pulling back, we're going to place our body pin in our hole. Should clip into place. Next, what I like to do is set in my bolt, my fake bolt. Basically, there's a little opening in the back that has a rail, and this just goes forward. Now, we have our spring and assembly, and this, you might have to wiggle. There's a hole in the fake bolt that we have to align, and then a hole in the body that also aligns. We're going to push forward and down, and it should clip into our gearbox. Make sure you have function, and now your front pin won't come out either. It locks that into place as well. Tuck your wiring down and lock your dust cover into place. Now, if you didn't remove your grub screw, it's great. This is easy. There's a grub screw down this hole. I believe it is a 2mm Allen key. I could also be wrong. No, there we go. It's a 2mm Allen key. We're going to tighten up, and that holds our outer barrel assembly into place. So our pin and that screw hold that down. Can flip our sight back. Now would be a good time to install your rail if you have it with your 4 flathead screws. And then last but not least, flip over your replica. Make sure no wires are going to pinch. And you have your hop-up retainer bracket. It goes in one way. The 2 tabs go back. I recommend to place it forward into the notch and let it drop. And then you have 2 tiny Allen keys. I'm sorry, 2 tiny Phillips screws that go into your hop-up. Don't over tighten. And just like that, our replica is completely done. Again, if you guys enjoyed this video, if you have any further questions, please leave those down below. Like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed the content. If you can think of anything that you'd like to see in the future, please hit me up. Again, this has been my personal PP19 reassembly video. Check the link down or up here if you want to see the teardown video, where I also describe some of the upgrades that you could possibly do with this replica. Again, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys on the next one.